In case you haven't heard, the National Association of Realtors was sued and they just reached a huge settlement. Because of this, there are some big changes that are coming to the real estate industry. What does this mean for home buyers and sellers? Let's find out. Why was the National Association of Realtors being sued in the first place? To keep it simple, home sellers felt that they were being forced to pay the buyer's agent's commissions and they no longer want that expense. Currently, this is how real estate agents' commissions are structured. The seller would pay their agent a certain fee. From there, the seller's agent would then put on the MLS that any buyer's agent that brought along a buyer that closed would then get paid X percentage of the purchase price. So essentially, the seller's agent is splitting the percentage they're getting with the buyer's agent. Because of this lawsuit, however, all that is about to change. One of the conditions of the settlement is that seller's agents can no longer advertise on the MLS that they will pay the buyer's agent. So how does this affect the real estate industry going forward? And how does this affect realtors, home sellers, and home buyers? For realtors, this means that buyer's agents will no longer automatically get paid once they bring a buyer that closes. Buyer's agents will now have to negotiate their fee with the buyer up front before they even start looking at properties and making offers. The buyer's agent does have the option to negotiate with the seller to have them pay their commission, but I don't think sellers will be willing to do that because they fought for the right not to pay in the first place. Next, let's look at this from the home seller's perspective. Home sellers now gain extra leverage to be able to net more money when they sell their property. Home sellers will now try to negotiate a lower commission with their agent because sellers' agents are no longer able to pay buyers' agents through the MLS. Now let's look at this from the perspective of a home buyer. Home buyers currently do not have to pay their buyers' agents, so essentially buyers' agents work for them for free. Once the new rules kick in, however, buyers' agents and home buyers will have to negotiate their commission up front. This means that the process of buying a home may have just gotten even more expensive for home buyers since they're the ones who now have to pay their agents. Now here's where this starts to get interesting. Once buyers realize that they now have to pay for their own buyer's agents, will they be willing to pay as much for a home as they were before? Because of this, home buying has essentially gotten more expensive, so this can cause some buyers to drop out of the market, thereby lowering the market demand. Another thing we might start seeing more in the real estate market are home buyers who are looking to buy a home without a real estate agent. Once home buyers start negotiating commissions with buyer's agents, there will be some buyers out there who will say, you know what, I don't want to pay for an agent, I don't need an agent, I can do my research online and I can buy a home on my own. Now I know I'm biased because I'm a realtor myself, but if this starts to happen, then I don't think it'll be a good thing for home buyers or for home sellers, and here's why. First off, if a buyer doesn't have an agent, who is going to show them properties? Or better off, who is going to let them into these properties? A lot of properties are actually on lockbox. So if you're a seller or the seller's agent, are you just going to give the lockbox code to a random stranger? I see a lot of safety issues arising from that. Now the buyer could ask the listing agent to open up the property for them, but for the listing agent, that's extra work and they may not want to do it, especially if they're receiving offers from other people who have agents. So any buyer trying to buy a home on their own may find it hard to get in the home at all. And for home sellers, how do you know it's safe to let this person into your home without a licensed professional? The second reason I think this is bad for the real estate industry is that the average home buyer doesn't know the procedures and doesn't have enough experience to actually buy a home. I can tell you from experience that most buyers are not even pre-approved when they reach out to you and they want to look for homes. This means that there will probably be a lot of buyers out there without agents trying to see homes and they haven't even been pre-approved yet. On top of that, once they make an offer, do they know what contract to use? A lot of buyers who work without agents tend to go online and find some weird contract that doesn't even have everything in it. They also don't know how to properly fill out a contract. For example, how much do you prorate the taxes for? What does that even mean? Home buyers can try to ask their attorneys to fill out the contract, but please believe that attorney is going to try to charge you a few $1,000s in order to fill out that contract. If home buyers don't know what they're doing, they could end up making the deal a lot harder than it needs to be, and they could end up screwing themselves and end up losing a lot of money. And lastly, if the buyer doesn't have a realtor, that means the buyer themselves is going to have to negotiate with the seller's realtor. If this happens, there's a good chance that this negotiation will not end well for that buyer. It's similar to a person choosing to represent themselves when they get sued. How often does that turn out well? If a home buyer tries to negotiate themselves versus an experienced seller's agent, that buyer is going to end up in a bad deal. The seller's agent's job is to get their client as much money as possible, and they will use their experience to do so. To sum it up, things are about to get more complicated in the real estate industry, especially for home buyers. Home buyers will soon have to negotiate with their buyer's agent up front as far as the commission that they will be paid. Buyer's agents will also now have to prove their value to their clients in order to get the commissions that they want. These changes aren't expected to happen until mid-July, so it will be very interesting to see how this all shakes out.